There we are.
Embossed shine.
All right. Get things prepped to get going here. Now, welcome everyone. This is my first scheduled stream since I went on hiatus back in July, I think it was. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. I did a quick test stream yesterday in the afternoon, and everything seemed to work pretty well. So I figured I'd do a nice short one today, and I am a bit late. I should have started about 25 minutes ago, but I was on a call that I had to take. Well, I didn't have to take it, but I wanted to take it, so. Hey, Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin. How are you? I believe, Kevin, you were on this call as well. And I recently saw Kevin at Max back a few weeks ago. We had some conversations about things. So yeah, it's been a busy past month. But yeah, so I figured for today, the thing that I should be doing is something that's pretty easy to grasp, and that would be just to do a quick rundown of Adobe Animate 2024 and what's new inside of that software, because, you know, generally Adobe doesn't talk too much about Animate for whatever reason, you know, probably because they, I don't know, but there are some really big features in Animate 2024. However, they're not really workflow based. And by the way, I do have a LinkedIn Learning update coming out for some of my courses there that includes some of this information too. So my what's new in Animate is getting updated. The essential training is getting updated, all that stuff. So yeah, let's see. So what's new? This is the screen that pops up when you launch Animate 2024. And the thing is, right, if you're a Windows user or if you're a, you know, a Mac OS Intel user, this first one isn't going to matter too much to you. But if you are using Apple's silicon chips in their newer hardware, this is going to be a major deal, right? So native Apple silicon support. You can imagine, you know, a lot of the different Creative Cloud applications, they went through, you know, pretty quickly when Apple first released their M1 chips. And, you know, they re-engineered what they needed to do so that things would run natively on M1. Now, just couple days ago, and Apple announced M3 chips, so it's been like 3 years, I guess, 2 years, 3 years since this happened. I've got a number of machines. The one I'm on right now is a M1 machine. My teaching laptop is an M2, and yeah, I don't have an M3 yet because very new, right? But I would love to get an M3 to replace my M1 machine. That'd be pretty slick. I bet that's a really great update. But, you know, this whole time, Animate has run with Rosetta in emulation mode. And now it doesn't have to. And it's actually a huge difference. Like massive improvements in speed. When you're working, when you're publishing, just different operations work so much faster with Apple Silicon. So this is one of the bigger things. And of course, it takes a lot of time and effort to do this. Like I said, most of the other Creative Cloud applications got this out of the way, you know, a year or two ago. Although there are still some that are lingering, right? So Substance 3D Stager still runs in emulation mode on Apple Silicon. So Animate is not the last one. Most of the other Substance 3D stuff My understanding is that they do run natively on Silicon. Kevin says soon. Do you think? Have you heard that that's soon, Kevin? Because that would be awesome. Like, did somebody at Max tell you like, oh yeah, Stager's like getting re-engineered for Silicon? Don't tell anybody except for Joseph. Oh, I mean, it would have. So here's something weird, and I don't want to say anything like bad against the Substance 3D people, right? Because I really like their stuff, and I'm doing a bunch of work, both in my class and for publications and things like that around a lot of the Substance 3D apps. But you know, they're super focused on, you know, Windows being their primary platform, and you know, all that other stuff. So, you know, Mac OS has been sort of like a secondary thought from most of the time that they've been with Adobe, and hopefully that changes with a lot of the chips that are coming out now on the Apple side of things. Of course, on Windows, you can plug in whatever chips you want, basically, as long as the hardware supports it that you've chosen. So you've got a lot more leeway there, and I can understand why they take that approach. But like Kevin says, it's time, right? Has to be soon. Yeah. Kevin also mentions Adobe XD is in maintenance mode now, as noted on the XD website. Yeah, they've got a big red thing now, just saying like, hey, we are in maintenance mode, guys. It's amazing how fast XD went from like being pushed hard to being pushed face down into the dirt by Adobe. But, you know, it's not the first time, right? Okay, enough negativity from Joseph. And it's not, I'm not super negative about it. It's just like, you know, at this point, it's like, it is what it is, and you got to kind of expect that, you know, Adobe and other businesses, other software makers, they're going to pivot. They're going to do what they need to do. It's just how it works, right? I always present this to my students as like a learning experience. Here, you get to live through this weird little bit of software history here. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's massive, right? So this is also pretty new. They went and redid the entire interface. So this uses, they just call it Sleek User Interface now. It uses Adobe Spectrum version 7, which is the latest version of Spectrum, and most other of the major pieces of software like Photoshop and Illustrator, right? They all use Adobe Spectrum version 7. So Animate is completely updated with the interface to address a number of things that have been kind of like long-standing complaints with people, but also, you know, just to update things, just to make things more modern, right? And then in terms of features, we've got the ability now to reset warped assets. So if you create a rig using warped assets, using the asset warp tool, warped objects, whatever we're talking about here, they tend to call it a couple different things, right? If you are creating your rig and you screw it up and you're like, you know, you screw up a pose, or you're like, ooh, you know, and it might take a while to get back, or you just screwed it up so badly that you're like, I just want to annihilate this thing, right? What you used to have to do was you'd have to actually reset the entire rig and start from scratch, right? Across everything. With this update, there's a little reset button. So on the particular keyframe where you screwed up, you just click that reset button and it'll reset the rig to its initial pose on that frame, and then you can continue as if, you know, nothing bad happened. So super useful for those who work with warped assets. And that's it. So I know that the you know, the Animate team was very involved in some of the sort of priority things for Adobe. They pulled a lot of people off different teams, including the Animate team, to work on some of the high priority things that they released. You can think, right? We've got things like Adobe Express's new version, Adobe Firefly generative AI, some of these things that they really needed to get done fast, right? So, you know, there's been a lot of complaints in the community about like, oh, how come my favorite application, whether it's Animate, whether it's InDesign, whatever it might be, you know, didn't get major feature-bearing updates in 2024. And I mean, that's kind of why, you know, people were working on other stuff, on different priorities. So hopefully, now that that initial push is all said and done, that things will be a little smoother. They can get some plans in place, maybe plans that were in place that had to get shifted around. But it's really good that they did focus on these particular things for Animate, because they were a long time coming, right? Especially native silicon support. And by the way, if people don't realize, where's my Creative Cloud app? There it is. Hello. So if people don't realize how this kind of works, right? So like Photoshop right here, Media Encoder, right? Let's go to All Apps. So if you look, After Effects, if you hover over any of these when you're in All Apps in the CC desktop application, you can actually see that both are available, both Apple Silicon and Intel for After Effects, right? Premiere Pro, let's check it out. Yep, both. InDesign, both. So Aero Beta, only Intel for Aero. And again, you know, this is more on the Substance 3D side of things because it's AR. But yeah, so if you're running Aero Beta on macOS and you're using Apple Silicon, it's going to run it in Rosetta in emulation mode. But Animate right here. Hey, Apple Silicon and Intel. So they both work. Oh, I'm interested actually. Yeah, they're both. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. So this only shows Apple Silicon for Painter. There's Sampler with Silicon. And then Stager, as mentioned earlier, still on Intel. Camera Raw must be both, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is what you got here. So these are the applications that I do not have installed right now, right? I've never installed InCopy. I don't even understand what InCopy does. I know there are plenty of people who use InDesign and InCopy for different things. I have never found a need for it. XD, as you can see here, Kevin mentioned this earlier. Reminder, XD is in maintenance mode. Yeah, it sure is. And then Substance 3D Designer. I was talking with some of the Substance team at Max about this, and they've encouraged me actually to give Designer another shot. I found it very obtuse when I was using it before, so maybe I'll install that again and give it another crack. And then Dimension, I've kind of, you know, Adobe's given up on Dimension, basically, so I'm kind of giving up on Dimension too. I like Dimension still, but Stager is so much more powerful that I have access to Stager, and why not use the more powerful one, right? I still firmly believe that Stager should be available as part of Creative Cloud subscription all apps, not just in the Substance collection, but that's just my opinion. Dreamweaver, still around. And look at that, Dreamweaver actually is available on Apple Silicon too. Weird. So yeah, Aero. So Kevin brings up Aero. Aero had a big update, maybe like a month before Max. I don't know if you noticed that. Aero on desktop updated. It has dark mode now and a bunch of new features, including some of the stuff that's probably in preparation for a lot of the Google kind of real-time geolocation coordinations that they've been talking about with Aero. So I think Aero's in a weird place, but you know, it is being worked on. It is, like I said, there was a massive release not too long ago. So, you know, all good for Arrow as far as I see. I would like to see it come out of beta on desktop, though. I think it's about time for it to do that. It feels solid enough. Because I was getting massive bugs when using Arrow in the past on the desktop. I was having it just crash out on me, things like that. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, most of this stuff is pretty much the same when it comes to Animate. See how fast that loaded? So that new document window, before this update, it would be so slow. Now it's not. So let's just choose to create a new file. Again, very fast, creating a new file. And there is another thing that's kind of different up in your preferences. So if you go to settings on macOS under Adobe Animate 2024, you can go to edit preferences, or this is under the edit menu on Windows. So you go edit preferences. You'll be able to get to the preferences window, where inside of the interface window, they've changed this a bit. So there used to be 4 of these and they were presented a little bit differently. So with Spectrum version 7, we actually have light, we have dark, which is the default, and then we have darkest, which is the best one, of course, right? So I'm gonna put mine on darkest. Very pretty. So this is Spectrum 7. This is the modern, sleek UI. So the nice thing about this is it's gonna make things a lot easier moving forward for the Animate team to, you know, really build out some good stuff inside of here. Anyhow, that's what's new in Animate. So most of it isn't stuff you can really demonstrate. Most of it's stuff you can talk about. But again, it is very significant when it comes to silicon support, when it comes to this new UI. And I mean, resetting points is great. Here, let's just do a stupid, simple little example of the feature. So here's my asset warp tool. And I'm gonna build my rig, right? So for my tool, let's check out my warp options. I do want to create bones. Let's just make them hard bones. Keep it nice and simple. So set a point, drag out a bone, set a point, drag out a bone, drag out another. Well, let's put a bone here, and then I'm gonna select this node, this pin right here, and branch out another bone, right? So if I go over to, like, I don't know, frame 15, and I'm like, let's insert a new keyframe. So here's my rig, right? And I can say, like, wee, woo, 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 woo. And you see how fast that is, right? And we can use these branches to, these bones to do stuff. So if I'm like, oh, you know what? That is complete garbage. I hate it so much. I just want to start over from the beginning. Here we go. Right there, reset warped asset. And if I click that, resets it to my original rig. So very useful. Okay, that's all I got. Like I said, I joined up late today because of a different meeting, and I did want to just do something familiar like Adobe Animate to kick off the new series, the new season, whatever the heck this is, right? And beautiful. Thanks, everyone. See you next week at the correct time. Thank you, Kevin, for joining. Talk to you later.